So we're Voxter. I'm Dayton, Lucas, Daniel. Holy, that's a bright light. So a little bit about who we are. We've been doing this. By this I mean voice over IP for 10 years now, just over 10 years, 10 and a half. We are our company is in the tens, not the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. We were previously all Asterisk, so like probably a lot of you guys came from Asterisk, came from FreePBX, maybe some FreeSwitch in there, and you know it was about 4 years ago-ish that we started playing with Kazoo, right around 1.5. Probably seems like a version that didn't even exist to many of you. And we operated as an ITSP with a reseller channel. We basically try to turnkey all of this stuff and add our own applications on top of Kazoo for billing or for a GUI or for managing multiple accounts, call quality, metrics, this sort of thing. We exist in a number of places in the world, and we're expanding all the time. So we operate. A couple of people have asked me. We presented last year, and we talked about zoning and clustering and federation. We do a lot of it. We often get ourselves into some of the more experimental development stuff. Our favorite term is, yeah, but that's unreleased. We get right in there and start digging around in it and creating patches and all that good stuff. So a little bit of what we do with Kazoo. We do feature enhancements, bug fixes. We've created our own WhApps and some integrations. We're going to be talking about a couple of the WhApps that we've created today. We've got an iOS Android app on the app stores called Voxter Mobile. What it does is it's a soft phone. It does not require configuration from the user's part. They log in with an email address and password that's been pre-provisioned by Kazoo. It puts all of their branding data in, and it rebrands itself with their logo, their colors, all that, the SIP credentials, all that stuff. And we give that to our direct customers as well as to resellers, and we also help other people white label it and put it on the App Store. Like I said, we've got our own network. So all those cities I mentioned earlier, we run all of our own data center, all of our own network. We do all of our own local peering for both PSTN and data transit. So it's a little bit more involved than what some people get into. We do a lot in the way of operations tools. So if you guys have ever poked around the community scripts repo, we've added some stuff which probably needs an update at this point. For how to get data into Graphite, how to install and configure Grafana to get stats out of your Kazoo cluster. We've tied Sensu in for monitoring. We use Logstash and Elasticsearch for logging and log analysis. And of course, all of our customers run on top of Kazoo. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the contributions that we've already completed or are in progress. And for that, I'm going to hand this off to Lucas to talk a little bit about what's happened so far.
Right, so we really enjoy working with the Kazoo core. We've had a lot of experience with call centers. Our resellers and our direct end users have been deployed on AC/DC. As we were doing that, we noticed that there were a couple of glitches. It may or may not have been an official release. But we did, and we continue to work on making this work for small and larger scale call centers. I don't know how big our largest call center client is, but...
About 300 agents?
So along with AC/DC, conferences are another... large application that we support as well. I'm not going to get into reading off these slides. We're going to have some screenshots that are going to highlight what those feature enhancements and bug fixes are. But we definitely create new features, and we like to squash bugs.
Can you actually go back real quick, just one sec? The voicemail transcription, did we pull that in yet? Right. So some of you might have seen over the years your voicemail to email templates say transcription not enabled. That's toggleable again, and it works again. Daniel patched the iSpeech API that they had modified and broken horribly, and now it works. Still poorly because, of course, it's 8 kilohertz mono audio, and that's impossible to transcribe effectively, but it's there again.
Yeah, I think we're about 80% accuracy on that. Some of the more detailed contributions of new features, they do supplement existing features like Callflows, is custom key value pairs and a way of defining based on a particular call flow or maybe multiple call flows. They all set a key value or multiple key values for that path in Kazoo, and then it branches off into a call flow that is sort of generic, but it references those key value pairs to call a particular user or IVR based on how that call got into the call flow to begin with. So demo time. There are this particular screenshot is currently under development. The Elasticsearch CDR module, we don't have it right now yet real time. We have experimented with it. It appears to be a viable way of pulling in CDRs across multiple realms, doing dynamic queries against them. And if you're familiar with the limitations of how Big Couch stores CDRs, this greatly improves the metrics and eventually billing. There's another screenshot there of the dashboard. This was whipped up in about 5 minutes in Cabana. Very versatile and potentially could be released to customers to view their own CDRs and then for resellers to view them across all their customer base. This was the custom key value set that I had just run through. So the first settings that you would put in here are your particular number or numbers that are going to pull the call into this call flow. The call flow variables object is where you actually set all of those key value pairs, and then it branches off into another call flow. That call flow would look up potentially many. Go ahead.
This is actually, if you hop back a slide, inside of call flow variables, if you were to click on that, now go ahead, you'd see on the left, these are the sorts of things that you can set that will persist through the lifetime of a call. So this is essentially, if you also hop back one sort of slide, what we do is we have a number of call flows, and they each, so the use case here, the situation is a customer has a very complex IVR system, and they represent maybe 50 brands or 100 brands, and you don't want to have to recreate that entire complicated IVR system just to handle things like, well, when someone presses 2 for brand 1, it should go to this queue or this ring group. And then, for brand 2, the only difference is the ring group or the queue that it goes to or the greeting that it plays. And so what we do is we have a number of call flows that are just stubs. And it hits call flow variables, and then that 9500 call flow that you see there is essentially the main IVR, the main complex IVR that's templated, and then references the call flow variables that you set when it comes time to decide, well, which ring group do we forward off to when the person hits 2, or which voicemail box, or this sort of thing. So if you step forward again, Luke, this here you can see up on the top left is we're setting a variable called lang select 5 greeting. So when someone presses 5, what greeting plays? We just name the variables arbitrarily, and then on the right we select what the destination is. And you can see if you were to have hit add variable, the green button in the bottom left, you get a pull down. And when we originally implemented it, it was just that last one that said custom, and the expectation was you went into Couch or wherever and grabbed the ID of the item that you were trying to point to, and of course that's not something super easy for, let's say, tier 1 people to do or customers to do. So we just made it so that it pre-populated a bunch of pull downs for things like users or voicemail boxes, devices, that kind of thing. Go ahead and step forward.
So this would eventually be the type of object that you're going to want to reference a custom variable. This name here would match these names here.
Right. So those names on the left there, you can see here. Go forward. A couple things here, and the reason all this stuff is on this slide this way is we've made a couple Kazoo UI improvements, and I know earlier the conversation was, let's move everybody away from Kazoo UI. I fully support that. I think that's a great idea. Monster's fantastic. As we've been going along, we've had to add these sorts of things to Kazoo UI. We're happy to push those forward if people are interested in them. Essentially, what you're seeing in the top left, one thing we've done, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed this before, but when a call flow references another call flow, you have to then exit and go find the call flow in the list to go to the one that it was going to point to. We've made it a clickable link, so now you click on 9500 and it takes you to that call flow. When you do that, what you see in the top left is there's a back button, so you can go back a call flow. Luke also added a feature. You'll see there's two little gray icons next to the title of this IVR, and one of them is make a copy of this call flow. Just duplicates it and renames it. Kind of helpful, saves us some time. Down on the bottom left, this is just a very standard, you've dragged a user object into a call flow, and you want to see when you're using the custom key value and the dynamic call flows that we've created, you say, normally your options are which user do you pick? It's just a statically set thing. Now, what it does is if you click the advanced checkbox, you put in the variable name that was previously set. If there's a value on the call for that variable, it will go to whatever that pointed to. If that variable is empty or invalid, it will fall back to the statically set. Lastly, this was an option that was available via SUP for a while. We contributed this patch last year, like as we were sitting here, I believe, for rebooting endpoints. There's a button. You can go in and reboot an endpoint in the web UI. I know this is available in Monster as well, but if you haven't deployed it yet, you could do it here. So I think we're going to pass this off to Daniel now. We're going to talk about some stuff that's in progress, stuff that's upcoming, that hasn't quite either made it into master yet, we haven't cleaned code up enough or documented enough to submit a pull request, but it's in progress. So I'll let Daniel take this from here.
Yeah, so we spend a lot of time working on ACD queues. We've been trying to use them in production to the point of having fairly stable queues today for our large call center groups. Some of the features that they request, simply don't exist in ACDC right now, and one of those is the idea of a breakout IVR. So while you're sitting in a queue, there's really nothing other than hold music at this point in time, and you could sit there almost indefinitely if the queue is configured that way. So what we've added is prompts every X number of minutes that offer the ability for the user to say press star, enter an in-call menu, and perform any various activities. This is not quite ready for us to contribute, but one of the things we want to make work before this. Thanks. We would like to add support for any of the CF menu existing features. So that can include options like directing to a user, playing new media, or a special feature that we'd like to add called callbacks. Now the idea of a callback is just that. If you do not want to stay on hold that whole time, you can retain your position. Oh man, my throat's killing me. And you can have the agent call you back when it reaches your point in the queue. So this feature, we have it working for us, but it does require, a little bit more work before we contribute this. But these are the kind of things that we're going to be working on and get that out to the open source project here soon. Some of our other stuff is simply CLI tools used for bulk document modifications. I have a script right now where you can... Thanks, dude. I think I must be coming down with a cold or something. Yeah, stay away from me. Right now, I have a CLI tool where you can specify JSON strings matching filters and types of couch docks and bulk update everything for every single account that you have in Kazoo. So we're going to work on delivering that as well. And as we displayed before, we also have CDRs coming. Good God. Take over.
Sure. So, one more little surprise. We have 2 new WhApps that are going to be released soon. They will be open sourced. We deliberated about this for a while, but we're going to be open sourcing them. Primarily because we'd love other people to help improve them. And if you've come from Asterisk, if you're waiting to migrate customers over from Asterisk, you might say to yourself, well, I don't have reporting tools, or I don't have the ability to use something like Flash Operator Panel or iSymphony or anything that uses the Asterisk Manager interface. So, 2 new apps. One's called Quilt. It listens to AC/DC events specifically and splits them out into Asterisk's native QLog format so that you can pump them into something like Astronet call center stats. Very helpful if you actually do foray into the world of AC/DC and you're deploying customers and they want to know how many calls have we missed, how many calls are agents taking. And Daniel's hard work brought us something that we call AMI-Mulator. It is a fork of Black Hole, which is the WebSockets WhApp. But it actually, rather than spitting out WebSockets over HTTP, it opens a TCP socket on 5038, which is the Asterisk AMI port. And it spits out an AMI event stream that translates events real-time from Kazoo, from AMQP, across a cluster, into an AMI native format that a tool like Flash Operator Panel could use to display like a dashboard of calls and what's going on. Want to see? Demo time. So, I'm going to swap over here. And so this is Flash Operator Panel. You guys have probably seen it before if you've installed any Asterisk-based phone system ever. I'm going to log in as myself. Now, I'm also going to pull up the AMI event stream that's now disconnected itself. So pretend that was scrolling by. I'm not going to log back in. But we've got here a Flash Operator Panel tied to Kazoo. We're able to get queues and their information. We're able to get conferences. We're able to get parked calls. We're able to mute and kick people out of the conferences from here, which is something that we had to add to the conference's WhApp, or cross-border module. We've got everybody. You can see someone just got on a call here. So we're also going to test this. My phone's online. Yeah, please call me. So up in the top left, I've got our mobile app here, and Daniel's going to call me.
Yeah, and we're both signed into soft clients in Kazoo for this.
Right, so we're attached to Kazoo using just soft clients. So if he gives me a ring, hopefully it says, Daniel's calling me, my phone's ringing, I will answer it, and the demo gods love us, my box turned orange. This was way harder than you could ever imagine to accomplish. It took Daniel forever in why, all these different Asterisk AMI implementations that use different syntax, different
Yeah, one of the
biggest
catches here is lots of these tools use different versions of AMI, different versions of Asterisk, and even worse, a lot of them don't precisely adhere to a particular Asterisk version. So there are a few kludges in our AMI emulator code to specifically make particular applications work properly. And there's a lot of work to be done on this still. But this is something that we do want to give back once we get it there. So we're going to be working hard over the next, say, 6 months and get this to the point where we can add it to Kazoo for all of you. So,
one quick final thing, just to prove that it does what we say it does. This is Astronet call stats. You guys might have seen this as well. This relies on that Quilt app that I mentioned. We've got a number of queues with a test set of agents for this demo. I can go and select this week after I log back in. Let's do that again. And this is live statistics coming out of Kazoo AC/DC. You can see all of your distribution. This is obviously not our software. This is a third-party piece of software, but it highly depends on the *AMI interface and the *QLog, and of course you can use it to retrieve call recordings, which is very nice. So, back to our final slide. This is our talk. Does anybody have any questions?